It seems like we're all kind of obsessed with understanding things, especially the big ones, like why we age and if there's anything we can do about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think it's a pretty universal human drive.
Totally. And in this day and age, you're just bombarded with information everywhere you look. So what you really need is a way to cut through all the noise and find the stuff that actually matters, right?
Absolutely. The real breakthroughs.
Exactly. And that's what we're all about here, uncovering the breakthroughs. And today we're diving deep into some research that really gets to the heart of that desire we were just talking about, that desire to maybe even reverse aging.
Yeah, this is fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
And your sources pointed us to some pretty incredible research on Planarian worms. Those little creatures that seem to be practically immortal.
Right. Planarian worms, they can regenerate themselves in these crazy ways.
It's wild. This isn't just about worms, though. It could change how we understand aging across the board, even in humans.
Yeah, when you hear about regeneration, you probably think of like a starfish growing back an arm or something, but planarians can regrow pretty much anything.
Oh, yeah, like a whole head, even.
I know, it's like something out of a sci-fi movie. And the fact that we've known about this for over a century, but are only now starting to really figure out how it works, that's what makes it so exciting.
It really is. It's like nature's been holding on to these secrets, and we're finally starting to unlock them.
For sure. And the work that Dr. Longwago's lab is doing at the University of Michigan Medical School is right at the forefront of all this.
They are really pushing the boundaries. And they chose to focus on planarians for a very specific reason. It's not just random. It's because they're seemingly immortal and can regenerate so well. It makes them like the perfect model for studying aging.
Makes sense. And his connection to the Institute of Gerontology adds even more credibility, I think.
Oh, absolutely. It shows that this research is happening at the highest level.
Right. So today, what we're going to do is dig into what Dr. Guo's research, which is detailed in this Eingevictor text, tells us about aging and this possibility, like you said, of actually reversing it.
Let's get into it.
So we're talking about worms that seem to defy death. Where do we even start with that?
Well, I think the first thing to understand is that even these seemingly immortal creatures, they actually do show signs of aging. They don't escape it completely.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. Dr. Guo's lab looked specifically at sexually reproducing planarians, and that's key because it allows them to watch the entire aging process unfold.
Oh, I see. So they're starting at the very beginning, from the zygote stage.
Exactly. They're essentially watching these worms age from the moment they're conceived.
Okay, so what kind of changes were they looking for? Like, how could they tell a planarian was getting older?
Well, what's really fascinating is that some of the signs they saw in these planarians up to about 18 months old are actually similar to the signs we see in aging mammals, like us.
Whoa, really? You wouldn't necessarily think a tiny worm would age in the same way as a human.
I know, it's surprising. They saw things like a loss of neurons, a decline in muscle mass, and problems with reproduction.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it suggests that some of the fundamental biological processes behind aging might be shared across a huge range of different life forms.
Ah, it's mind-blowing.
Hmm.
You mentioned something about their eyes changing too, right? That really caught my attention.
Oh yeah, that's a really striking detail. Dr. Gao's team observed these abnormal changes in the structure of the planarians' eyes as they aged.
Interesting. So, like, you could actually see the aging happening in their eyes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a really visual, concrete sign of their age.
Wow. Okay, so they're observing these signs of aging, neuron loss, muscle decline, changes in their eyes, problems with reproduction. But then things get really wild, right? Because then comes the regeneration part. It's like they can just hit the reset button.
Exactly. That's where things get super interesting. The big experiment they did was to remove the heads of these older planarians. Now remember, these worms can regenerate. But the big question was, when an older worm grows a new head, will that new head also show signs of aging?
So, like, will the new head also be old?
Right. So they left these older worms regenerate, and they watched what happened.
What did they find? Did the new heads still show signs of aging?
This is the amazing part. The new heads showed no signs of the eye abnormalities that were present before. Like that part of them had been completely reset.
No way.
It's incredible, right? But it gets even better. They also found that after regeneration, these older planarians actually had improved fertility and seemed to be functioning better overall compared to older planarians that hadn't regenerated.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't just a simple repair job. It was like actual rejuvenation.
Exactly. They weren't just fixing what was broken. It seems like they were making the worms biologically younger in some ways.
That's incredible. And all this was published in Nature Aging, right?
Yes, it was. which really shows how important this research is.
It's a big deal in the scientific community. Okay, so now we have this big question. How are they doing this? What's different about Planarians compared to us that lets them regenerate and seemingly reverse their aging like this?
Right, it's a huge question. And the Decapitated text gives us some clues. It talks about Planarians having this persistent population of stem cells.
Stem cells, right. Those are the cells that can basically become any other type of cell in the body.
Exactly. They're like the body's master repair and renewal cells. And unlike mammals, Planarians don't seem to lose very many of these stem cells as they age. We do.
So we lose our ability to repair and renew as we get older, but Planarians don't. That seems like a pretty fundamental difference.
Yeah, it's a big one. But there's even more to it. The researchers found that regeneration actually reversed some of the age-related changes that were happening at a molecular level in different tissues.
Whoa, hold on. Can you explain that a little more?
Sure. Think of it this way. Your cells have this instruction manual, which is your DNA. As you age, some of the instructions in that manual get messed up, which causes your cells to function differently.
Got it.
Regeneration in Planarians seems to be able to clean up those instructions and restore them to a more youthful state.
So it's not just that they have these stem cells, it's that those stem cells can go in and basically reprogram other cells to be younger.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. A pretty profound level of rewiring.
That's amazing.
It really is. And I think this quote from Dr. Guo sums it up perfectly. In the older Planarians, not only did they not lose the regenerative capacity, but they can also still completely regenerate, which is different from a lot of species already, suggesting they have mechanisms to support longevity and healing even at much older ages.
Yeah, that quote really emphasizes how special these creatures are. Okay, so we've established that Planarians can age, but then they can basically hit a reset button through regeneration, thanks in part to their stem cells and this ability to reprogram their cells. But how does any of this relate to us mammals? We can't just grow a new head when we start feeling old.
Right, that's the million-dollar question.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the comparative analysis that Dr. Guo's team did becomes so important. They didn't just look at Planarians in isolation.
Okay, so what did they do?
They compared the molecular data from the Planarians with data from aging mice, rats, and even humans. And they even included data from mice that had undergone treatments that are known to extend lifespan.
So they were looking for commonalities, like shared signs of aging across all these different species.
Exactly. And what they found is really remarkable. The molecular signatures of aging that they saw in the Planarians were also present in the aging mammals.
Wow. So the things that change in a Planarian as it ages are some of the same things that change in a mouse or a human as they age?
Yeah, it seems that way. And even more interesting, those same signatures were also present in the mice that had their lifespans extended, but they seem to be less pronounced.
So things that help mice live longer seem to be impacting these shared signs of aging?
It seems like it. It really points to the possibility that there are some fundamental, universal mechanisms of aging at play across the animal kingdom.
That's a huge implication.
It is. And it opens up this incredible possibility that if we can figure out how Planarians reverse these aging signatures, we might be able to find ways to influence them in other species too, maybe even in humans.
It's like they hold a key to unlocking some of the secrets of aging.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is clearly not just about understanding some weird worm. This could have big implications for human health and longevity. What's next for Dr. Guo and his team? What are they working on now?
Well, according to the Decapitated text, their main focus now is trying to identify the specific genes and cells that are driving this regenerative program that reverses aging in Planarians.
So they're trying to find the exact mechanisms, the switches that are being flipped.
Yeah, exactly. They want to understand the nuts and bolts of how it works.
And if they can figure that out, then maybe they can start looking for similar mechanisms in other species.
That's the hook.
Fascinating. And there's a quote from the research paper that I think really captures the essence of this whole thing. The message of this study is that age-associated decline may be reversible at whole organism level, not just for the Planarians, but other organisms.
It's a powerful statement, and a hopeful one, too.
It really is. And it's important to note that this research is being funded by some pretty major organizations, like the Glenn Foundation for Medical Research. That tells you this is serious stuff.
Oh, absolutely. It shows that the scientific community recognizes the potential impact of this research.
For sure. Okay, so let's recap what we've learned today. We started with these Planarian worms, which seem to be immortal, but we discovered that even they show signs of aging. And some of those signs are surprisingly similar to what we see in mammals.
Yeah, we don't often think about worms aging the same way we do.
Right. But then we learned about their incredible ability to regenerate, which basically allows them to reverse those signs of aging, not just physically, but also at a functional level.
And they can do this because they have this amazing supply of stem cells that don't seem to dwindle with age. And those stem cells can actually go in and reprogram other cells to be younger.
It's incredible. And then, to top it all off, we learned that the molecular changes associated with aging in planarians are also found in us, which suggests that what we learn from these worms could have a huge impact on our understanding of human aging.
You've summarized it perfectly. The key takeaways here are the unexpected similarities in aging across such vastly different species, and the evidence that age-related decline might not be as inevitable as we thought.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? If these tiny worms can reverse their aging, what does that mean for us? What possibilities are out there that we haven't even considered yet?
I think that's the best part about science. It's constantly pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible and challenging us to reconsider our assumptions.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that there's still so much we don't know and that the natural world is full of incredible mysteries waiting to be uncovered.
I couldn't agree more. And who knows what other amazing discoveries are out there just waiting for us to find them.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole journey so exciting.
It is. It's a journey of exploration and discovery, and I think that's something we can all be a part of.
I think so too.
It's about staying curious, asking questions, and being open to the possibility that there's always more to learn.
Well said.
And sometimes, the smallest creatures can hold the biggest secrets.
That's for sure. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me today.
It was my pleasure. Always a fascinating conversation.
Until next time.
Until next time.